Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our alternate language translations. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen with you so that you can actually see the PowerPoint and you don't have to look at a picture of me. This is one of my favorite sessions. And this is one that I am finding more and more school districts are needing every year. Of course, I'm in Texas. We definitely need to translate our documents because it's almost as though Spanish is a second language in our state. And I'm sure that your school districts experience the need for translated documents as well. Today, we're going to give you a click pattern on how to add a new language, translate the template, view the translation, activate the translation, add translate rights to a document template security, add translation privilege to a security group, add translate template documents privilege, and then we're going to take a quick peek at a completed document. Because once that document's in the final stage, you actually get to do a couple of different things to it. Well, one main thing, but we'll get to that at the end of the session. One thing that I do want to note for everybody is please remember, do not feel overwhelmed by our sessions here. This is an overview. This is not a training. What we would like you to do is kind of experiment with the click path as we go along, and become familiar and have constant exposure to some of the different things that you can do within special programs. One other note that I would like to mention is when you add a new language to a document template, it is actually a separate process than adding a new language to your keyword tables. So just because you are translating an actual document, keep in mind that the drop downs with keyword tables aren't necessarily going to be translated. Keywords are translated in a separate way. And we're going to talk about keyword tables later on today, and I will show you how to translate those keyword tables when we get to our afternoon session. The first thing I want to kind of show you is how to add a new language. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to go to Administration, Document Templates. You're going to select on a document template, More, and then you're going to select Translations. Now, don't panic if you see me going over this part kind of quickly. I'm going to show you live here in just a moment. But I just wanted to make sure and go over these instructions with you. This is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm going to go live. And here I am to my live screen. Keep in mind, everybody should basically see the same thing. I don't have the same data set as you, but we should, our screens should be pretty close. Another thing to keep in mind, you should have the same functionality as me. So if you want to go along or practice your click path later on after the session, you can do that as well. But I'm going to go to this Administration, Configuration. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to click on Document Templates because that's what I want to work with right now. When I click on that, I see all these different document templates. And I think I'm going to try to click on something a little different. I'm going to click on, let's see this document, if I can give you anything good. Yeah, I think this has some good stuff on it. So here I've clicked on my document. I'm going to go up to this More button. I'm going to go to the drop down. And in that drop down, I am going to see Translations. I'm going to click on that translation. Now, once I do that, it's going to take me to a page where I can add any language that I want to. I'm going to click on Add a Language. And then once I do that, I am going to select the language that I want. And since Spanish is the most popular, I'm going to go ahead and click on Spanish. I can see right away it's translating some items. I'm going to go ahead and click this arrow to say that I approve this translation. And one other thing that I want you to note when you are looking at this is our translations are powered by Google Machine. Now, before I go any further, I do want to talk a moment about Google Machine. First, it is one of the best educational translators out there. 90% of the time, or I'm even going to be brave enough and say 99% of the time, you are going to get a good, solid translation. But anytime you have a translation, we do always recommend that if you can, have a native speaker look over that translation. Because if any of you have ever taken a foreign language, or if any of you happen to speak a foreign language, you're going to be the first one to know that things don't always have a literal translation. Now, the good news is, even if the translation is off a bit, I'm going to say 99.999% of the time, the parents are still going to be able to understand exactly what you want from them. But just want to put that note out there. When you can, try to have a native speaker look over it. And if you need to revise anything, you'll be able to click right in the box and do so. So I am going, just clicked out of there. Let me go back there. There we go. Sorry about that. I have a very, very, very sensitive mouse. I'm going to go back to my Spanish. And I'm going to approve that. I'm going to approve that. And then I'm going to click OK. Once I have done that, I can see that it is ready and set to translate that document template. The next thing that I have to do is I have to click on the little magnifying glass, because I'm going to have to actually now take the steps to translate it. That first step is giving me the permission and basically saying, hey, I want to translate that document into Spanish. This next step is where you actually edit and add that new language and the translated version to that document template. So when I click on that document template, of course, the first thing it's going to bring up for me is that English version. What I'm going to do then is go up here to Edit Translated Phrases. Once I click on Edit Translated Phrases, it is going to tell me anything that I can have translated on that particular document template. It's going to say, this is the area that we can translate. This is the suggestion that we have for you. Just as we did in that very first part when we were translating the beginning portions of that document, all done by Google Machine, all powered by Google Machine. And then the steps that you take for this one, this is where it can get a little tricky. And this can actually, it's a common mistake that is made. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, it was a mistake that when I first was learning this translation, I made it myself. So it's a very honest mistake. I'm not going to do this one because this one's simple, but I'm going to take a look at this translation. And let's say, okay, this is a pretty good translation. I accept this translation. The temptation is going to be to click it here. Here's the problem. When you click it there, if you still see this box is white, that's how it's going to show up on the document. And it's so easy to go ahead and just click there and be like, okay, it's all done. What you actually want to do is click on these little blue arrows. It is whatever you see in this middle column that you will see on the translated document. Now, some of you may ask, okay, well, then why on earth, Christine, would they put this little box there if they want us to click on this one that just seems to, it just seems like it could cause a lot of confusion. Well, they do that in the event that you want to put your own translation in here and not even use that. So if I wanted to use my own translation, I could do that. And notice as I type in there, it's going to go ahead and mark that box as proof. But I'm going to keep going here with these blue arrows. I'm going to click all the way down. And for kicks and grins, we're just going to approve all of these translations because we want to see what it looks like. And I don't have a native speaker here with me, so. And I speak French, not Spanish. Okay. Keep going. You want to do this to each section. And notice how fast you can get that translation going. If this goes on for much longer, I'll just stop it in the process so that y'all can see what I mean without having too much awkward silence here. I think we can get through these quickly. And I will tell you, these are pretty decent translations from what I know, the very little that I know of Spanish. They're pretty decent. Okay, so now we have everything that can be translated. We have that all marked out. Now I'm going to click on Save. So now that translation is approved and it's saved, and it's automatically going to take me to the translated document. Everything that I gave permission for it to change, it changed. This was a good document to do too. Now the next thing that I have to do is I have to activate this translation. So you can actually have a translation all set and ready, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily activated. I'm going to exit that translation. And what I actually am going to do is start from the beginning, because this is probably what you would do. You would start from the beginning. So I'm going to click on my special program. And just to show you, this is also on your PowerPoint. I'm going to take the exact steps from the PowerPoint. So I'm going to go to Administration, Configuration. I'm going to click on Document Templates. And I'm going to go down to the document that I just did. Hopefully this is the right one. I don't remember if it was this one or not. No. Okay. Let me go back. I don't remember which one I did. So I'm going to go back. And I'm going to go to one that I know is translated for sure and show you how to do it. I really should have written that down. I'm going to go to IEP. Click on More, go to Translations. And it's the exact same process that you see here, Activate for Users. I can either deactivate it or I can activate. Very, very simple. And you'll notice, look at all the translations on this document. I've heard that some districts in Alabama have 41 languages that they need to translate. That is a lot. Now, the next item that I want to go to is adding translate rights to document template security. I'm going to start from the beginning, as I always do, Administration, Security, and I'm going to go to a security group. I want to go to one that I know I haven't done yet. Alicia and I are starting to get desperate with our examples because everybody uses this and we just want to make sure that we can show y'all examples. Sometimes we mess with them and sometimes we don't. All right, so now I'm on this security group. I got to go up to Document Templates. And when I go there, I see that this group currently has 0 translation rights. The next thing that I want to do is I am going to click on a particular section. I'm going to click on the actual document, and then I'm going to click translate. And when I do that, it's going to give permission for that particular group to translate. And when I go back to properties and privileges, just want to show you here, you'll see that translate. One other item that I want to show you when I go back to properties and privileges, I can also go to edit properties and privileges. And I can scroll all the way down to student profiles and document privileges. And I will also see a translate documents there as well. One thing to note about this, when you change it on this screen, if this particular security group has permission location-wide, that's what you need to change this document template to for translation. So this person has location-wide access, and we just want to make sure that we stick with that location-wide access. And then going back to those document template, that document template portion, then I can go through and I can do each one of these. Notice when I do this, I'm doing it document-wide. You can also do just section-wide. We talked about document-wide versus section-wide in one of yesterday's sessions, I believe. And when we go back to that document, you will see I've got another translation. Very, very easy stuff. So we've activated that translation. We added translation rights to a document template security. We can add translation template documents privilege. That's what I did when I went to that one screen where I wanted to make sure if that security group has other items or access location-wide, got to do it location-wide as well. And the last thing that I want to do is I want to actually talk about the actual translated document. Once that document is in its final stage, you are going to be able to have some more options for translations. And I just want to show you a couple of items before we move on, and because there is one little kind of real world task. But I'm going to go first and start from the beginning and just show you from the student table what that translated document looks like. So if I go to students, and I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Aust that has a translated document. If I go to documents, notice he has a Spanish draft. I'm going to click on that document. And when I click on that document, first I'm going to take a look. Okay, we've got this filled out in English. I'm going to cancel that editing. And then I'm going to navigate to the language translations. So I checked out that English version first. Looks good. Now I'm going to go back, click on the language translations. I see here that there's one in Spanish. It's letting me know that some of the fields are incomplete, which is just fine. And notice everything has been translated. The next example of a translated document that I want to show you is a translated document that is actually in its final stage. To do that, I'm going to go back to my students. And I believe it's Mr. Oust again that has one that is completed. I'm going to go to Documents. And I'm going to scroll all the way down. And we have a final. I'm going to click on this document. I'm going to navigate to, because I've already checked this one out, language translations. I'm going to click on my Spanish. And when I do, you will notice that anything that is written by the teachers will also have the ability to be translated as long as you see that Google machine. You do this once the document has been put into its final revision. You'll notice that one was a forced final. That's when you can see if there are boxes that will translate anything that is written. If I want to use that translation, okay, this looks like a pretty good translation. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to click the up button. And when I do that, this will actually appear in the final document, which that means every single part of that document can be translated, including whatever the teacher or special ed director or whoever is completing that IEP, whoever has worked on that document, as long as there is a Google machine option, that area can be translated. So just remember, if there are machine translations for the narrative fields, you can either accept that translation, you can adjust that translation, and it will become a part of your document. Once you have reviewed everything, you can save it as proofed. I'm not going to do that yet because this is our only example that we have. You can save it as proofed. And then once it's proofed, you can generate a PDF if you want to. And you will have your completed document. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is going to be the real world tasks for implementation. There is a slight little checklist of items that we want to make sure that you have completed before we go into production. And this is one of them. You will notice that they are at the end of every single PowerPoint slide. Sometimes it's blank. Sometimes we have something very little for you to do. I want to show you what this one is. It is a live link. Once I click on that live link, let me go to the next one. Or is it finally coming up for me? My computer all of a sudden is running slow. That really does not happen to me very often. Let's see. Let me try this one. There we go. It did not like what I did before, but it likes this one now. This link takes you to our user help, and it takes you to the section of our document language translations. This is going to go over everything that I've gone with you. And the reason why we like to address this particular document and take your attention to it is because it is really nice step-by-step document. As you've heard us say 1,000 times, for the most part, a lot of the user help that we have in our help section is generic help. If it's a particular portion that's directed towards a state, it's going to let you know if there's state help there. But if it doesn't say Alabama or state help, you know for sure that it's generic help. But with that being said, while in most cases, something for Alabama might, slightly differ, in this particular case, document translations pretty much all work the same. And what I've heard from a lot of our clients is that this language translation system that we're using is pretty similar to something that you've already done. And I can tell you, I've worked on different platforms before, having to translate different things while in the education field, and it pretty much worked just like this. Just remember that when you want to be able to add a translation for the language, you will have to go in and add that language, and you will have to go in, activate that translation, and then make sure that those translations are correct. But you only have to do it once. And once you do it, that translation will be in there. You can always activate and deactivate any languages that you want to. All right, I'm going to escape here, and I'm going to see if we have any questions. Looks like we're pretty good. Does anybody have any specific questions? Oh, hi, Jeff. You need the link to the PowerPoint? Alicia just pasted that a moment ago. Thank you, Alicia. She just pasted it for you again. Oh, no problem, Jeff. Just go ahead, go to that link, move your cursor all the way to the left-hand side. You'll see little paper clips. When you click on that paper clip, any PowerPoint slides, hand decks, or slide decks, or handouts. I came up with a new word, hand deck. Any slide decks or handouts that you need will be located on the right side. So left-hand side paperclip, and then, at least on my computer, it shows me what I can download on the right-hand side. FYI, just for anybody on here, that link works for every deep dive session we're having this week. And it even has information from our past sessions that you can click on. Now, we got through those translations pretty quickly. This is a pretty smooth running machine. You'll notice we have, I'm just going to go back here and just show you again that we just have so many different languages that you will be able to translate. Look at all these languages. I can do Hungarian. Some of these languages I've never even heard of. Chances are, if you need it, it's going to be there. Very simple process. Last thing that I just want to remind everyone, just in case you missed it when I said it at the beginning of the session, remember what I just showed you is for translating document templates. We will go over translating keywords in our afternoon session. So this does not translate keywords, it translates the document template. Think of them as two separate entities. Even though they're related, two separate entities, have to do it separately. Same process, but separately. All right, for a moment, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to double check, make sure we don't have any questions. It doesn't look like we have any questions. This is a fairly short, simple, and sweet presentation. So you have two options right now. one option is feel free to sign off if you want to. We're not going to get upset with you if you have other things to do or you want to experiment with this on your own. But option number 2 is staying for our office hours. And the way the office hour works, I'm going to go on mute. Alicia and I will both be on mute, and we will be constantly checking the chat for any questions that anyone may have. So if you have questions, you can post them in the chat. You can also post questions in the Q&A section. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us for alternate language translations. I'm going to go ahead and go on mute now, and I will talk with all of you soon.